those bloody grounds where so many fought and sacrificed. Gradually, I became aware that the veterans of that war were all around me and could tell me their stories firsthand. When I met my wife, Barbara, I discovered that her father, Israel S. Gockley, was one of those men. Izzy'd been in Easy Company, 334th Infantry Regiment, 84th Division, rising from a private to a sergeant and assistant squad leader during the Battle of the Bulge. Like many vets, he didn't talk much about the war, and, indeed, tried to bury it deep within and forget it. At this he was successful. But one terrible engagement at Bayeux, Belgium, on January 23, 1945, during which his company, out in front of the regiment, held their ground and were nearly overrun by an SS Panzer unit, was one even the determined Izzy couldn't forget. In 1983, I had the honor of taking Izzy to his first and only division reunion, and met some of the men he talked about. Hearing their stories planted an urge deep inside me to one day walk the ground at Bayeux, where he and his comrades almost came to grief. The desire to visit the battlefields of World War II was further inflamed when I became a newspaper reporter. Around Memorial Day and Veterans Day, I interviewed scores of men from World War I through Desert Storm. But it was the World War II guys who enthralled me most. It was such a terrible yet heroic struggle, fought on a battlefield that stretched around the globe and against deeply evil forces. Then came Band of Brothers, both the book and the miniseries, and I met and became friends first with Dick Winters and then with Forrest Guth. Through knowing them and seeing the movie, their story became so tangible to me that I knew I just had to visit their fields of glory. I had to walk in their footsteps. That was the idea I now laid out over that luncheon meeting in Manhattan, a historical memoir and travelogue that involved me traveling to these sites accompanied by an Easy Company veteran, recording his memories and emotions and weaving into that my own impressions of those fields today, both as a historian and a writer. I wasn't at all certain how I'd accomplish this task, or even if it was feasible, which is why I tucked it away in my mind's later file. But since my other suggestions seemed to crash and burn, publishing is a tough business, I thought, what the hell, and brought my idea out. As I described my project, I saw Brent's eyes light up. He especially liked the part about taking a veteran along. At this meeting, we didn't agree that this would indeed be my next book for NAL, mainly because I still wasn't sure I was good enough to pull off this huge plan. But the favorable impression it left on Brent encouraged me, so I began looking into the possibility. The first thing I had to do was line up an Easy Company veteran. I knew Dick Winters, at age 90, was out, so my first choice was Forrest Guth. I'd met Forrest in 2001, around the same time I met Dick Winters. After the war, Forrest had attended and graduated from what was then called Millersville State Teachers College in Millersville, Pennsylvania. 40 years later, I graduated from what is now called Millersville University. And in 2001, after I'd become a journalist, I was asked to write an article for Millersville's alumni magazine about the school's Band of Brothers alumnus. I did, interviewing him over the phone at his home in Delaware. After that, Forrest and I ran into each other a number of times over the next couple of years, including at a birthday party for Dick Winters, and our friendship developed. In December 2007, Forrest's wife of almost 60 years, Harriet, a lady I'd met many times and grew to enjoy, passed away. I thought about this when I called Forrest in August 2008 to propose the trip, thinking it would be a good way to get his mind off his grief. He agreed to go along without hesitation. The trip was not a definite yet. I still had to line up guides and my itinerary and get the whole package blessed by NAL. For the guides, I turned to my internet friends of the Wild Bill Guarnier.